Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Courtney Gardner, a Partner Marketing Coordinator here at Proficient, and I'm excited to be moderating today's webinar, Oracle Cloud EDM Defined, Discussed, Demonstrated. Two questions often come up with our online events. Can I get a copy of the slides and a link to the recording? The answer to both questions is yes. We will email you with information on how to access both the slides and the recording following today's event. So without further delay, I'd like to hand it over to Stephen Bogner to introduce you to Proficient.
Thanks, Courtney. We're excited to, like Courtney said, to discuss EDM with you all. As we get started into this presentation, we're going to do a little brief introduction of who I am and who my counterpart, Swetha Koda, is. We're also going to talk about the value and purpose of EDM. We'll discuss some use cases. We'll also have a demo where we'll go into the application and explain some of the key concepts and walk through some examples of mastering data within EDM. We'll then also have some success stories about how EDM is being used throughout multiple organizations and industries in the real world, and then we'll end with some questions, Q&A. So again, my name's Steve Bogner. I'm a project manager within the Proficient EPM Oracle practice. I've been in this space for roughly 15 years. I've experience across MDM type of projects, EPM projects, of course, spanning planning, FCC, EDM, DRM, and even have some experience in the EBS space as well. I am certified in EDM and I'm happy to be here with you all today. Swetha?
Thank you, Steve. I'm Swetha Kota. I'm a lead technical consultant with Proficient. I've worked in the Oracle EPM space for close to 8 years now, mostly on master data management. So I've worked on multiple EDM implementations, and I'm also Oracle EDM certified, and I'm looking forward to giving you a quick demo of EDM today and answer any questions you all have. Thank you.
Thanks, Swetha. So a little bit about our company for those that may not be familiar with us. We are a global organization. We have roughly 5,000 colleagues spread across the world. We have offices in North America, predominantly in North America, but also in Europe, India, and China. We were founded in 1997. We have alliance with major tech vendors, including Microsoft, Adobe, Oracle, of course. We've received multiple awards across those areas of expertise. And I think the thing that, if you talk to anybody from Proficient, that we're most proud of is that repeat business rate of 90%. So when customers do business with us, they're happy with the work that we do. And that speaks to that fact. Our Oracle practice in particular has expertise across multiple pillars: ERP, HCM, EPM, of course, and analytics. And through our 19 years of experience and over 3,000 deployments, there really hasn't been an industry we haven't been involved with or done business with. So our expertise has a wide spectrum. And if you'd like to learn more about a certain area of our expertise, feel free to reach out to us. Our EPM practice in general, so we focus in on all of Oracle's solutions, FCC, account reconciliations, EDM, of course, planning and budgeting, and profitability and cost. Our consultants have a pretty active thought leadership involvement at Proficient, and we're involved with that aspect in 4 major areas. One being blogs, another being guides, webinars like this, of course, and then training. And if you're interested in our blog post, you can see that URL at the bottom of the page. There's a wide array of information out there directly from our consultants across just about any application in the EPM space. So one thing we really want to touch on today is EDM's value and purpose within an organization. EDM is, of course, an MDM type application that's packaged in the EPM suite, and we want to talk about how EDM can really help out organizations with various challenges that they're faced with in a day-to-day business world. So Really, the purpose of EDM is to provide the organization with an agile ability to adapt to a wide spectrum of changes involving various data domains. And EDM is agile in two major ways. One being the multiple types of data that it can manage. And this can be any type of classification data. So not only dimensions and hierarchies, but this could be chart of accounts, reference data, master data, taxonomies. And also, it's not limited to just financial structures. So this EDM can solve for HR challenges, customer tool challenges, something as simple as ISO and operational code maintenance. EDM has the ability to provide value in those areas as well. The second major way that EDM is agile is the types of changes that it can help address within an organization. So these could be transformational in nature or routine. So for example, if you have multiple ledgers resulting from mergers and acquisitions and need to do corporate chart of accounts mapping as part of those mergers or acquisitions, EDM can provide value there. Or as simple as, hey, I have a new cost center or a new account, I need to have it added to the ERP tool as well as the EPM applications. EDM can serve as that point of maintenance for applying that change and propagating it throughout the organization. Evaluating the need for any application really requires the ability to ask the right questions. That is key. Whether it's EDM, planning, FCC, it doesn't matter what the application is, but asking the right questions to the right individuals is a crucial aspect. We found that when organizations really take the time to ask themselves these types of questions, such as what you're seeing on the screen, they're usually surprised by the answers and the degree to which the risks or inefficiencies exist in their organization. Areas such as strategic data governance, enterprise transformation, even something as simple as a routine typical change process. The EDM can provide direct opportunities for savings in either cost and or time in those areas. And speaking of typical change or routine changes, it's not uncommon for those changes such as adding a new account or adding a new cost center or department or what have you, for those to be challenging experiences for organizations without EDM. And this is really due to a couple things. One being the number of people involved. So there may be multiple applications throughout multiple admins throughout multiple applications in the organization just to apply that change. So, and each application may have its own sub-process that's required in order to apply that change. So when you look at the people, the tools, and even the processes involved, typically that routine or simple change isn't so simple. But that's a great place to start for an organization in evaluating whether EDM can help alleviate some of those headaches. So you got to ask yourself questions such as, is the process for requesting changes efficient and auditable? Do requesters have the ability or visibility to the life cycle of their request? So if a business user requests a new entity to be created, do they have the ability to see that request go from approver to approver so that they're kept apprised of their request throughout its life cycle? Or do they go into some sort of ticketing system or send an email or pick up the phone and request that change, and it kind of goes off into the black hole, and they're not notified about the status of that request unless there's an issue with it, or it was rejected for one reason or another. Another aspect is, are multiple people required to get it right? So if you put in a change and user A needs user B, or an ERP admin needs an EPM admin's help, does it require multiple people to touch that request really in order to make sure it gets applied properly throughout all the various applications in the organization. And then how many manual processes exist for data validation and applying the change? So, does an ERP admin have to do checks and balances against the request? They have to sit there and evaluate it. Does it meet this requirement? Does it meet this requirement, and so forth? And is that all within their head, or is there a systematic way of enforcing that type of business rule or MDM rule? So these are key questions that really every organization really needs to ask for the modern business user to be successful. And naturally, once EDM is identified as a potential solution, the next question is really how do we task, or who do we task with addressing some of the challenges in these types of processes? The best answer to that question is going to be the business user. And this is really EDM's best aspect, in our opinion, is the fact that it's built for the business user. It has many business user-friendly aspects, including a easy to quickly grasp and intuitively navigate user interface. The development team at Oracle, in our opinion, really developed the tool to make it easy for that business user to view data structures, data domains, and to submit changes. And you'll see that in the demo later on as well. It really, has a sensible presentation of the data on the screen. When you're looking at the screen, it's not going to be too difficult to understand what you're looking at, whether it's an ERP structure, maybe a planning and budgeting hierarchy or dimension. You're not going to be too confused on what you're looking at. The other thing too is drag and drop management. So if you, for example, need to move cost center in a FCC structure from one parent to another, you can simply do that within a change request using drag and drop features. That makes it really nice, really easy for business users to quickly and efficiently apply those changes. Side-by-side viewing of the data structures. This is one that I think is really awesome too. If I want to see what my FCC entity dimension looks like compared to my planning or ERP hierarchy or dimension, I can easily do that within EDM and do contrasts and compares. You can compare the structures to identify differences and take action upon those differences. Really a great feature for the business user to be able to, ensure that everything is in alignment as it needs to be to meet reporting requirements. Collaboration. Really, EDM's taken on a new perspective on what collaboration means. Obviously, collaboration is crucial in any activity within an organization. EDM's design really incorporates that. You can do such things such as invite others to help with the request. So if the user is entering a request and needs help, he or she can invite another user into that same request and they can work on it at the same time, which is great to really making sure that, getting the right information entered the system at the forefront of the process is accomplished. Also, you can assign the request to another user. So if I'm entering a request and I know half of the information that's required and Swetha knows the other half, I can assign her to the request to fill out the other half and then move that process or that request along in the process. And then also approver enrichment, which is a new feature recently released. Approvers, they don't only have to hit approve or push back. They see something wrong with a request, they have the ability, if it's enabled, to take action upon that request and correct whatever issue may be. So there's some time savings there in terms of the approver being able to, apply changes and move the request along versus having to push it back and move all the way through the approval process again. Change visualization allows users and approvers to actually see the change in the data structure prior to committing that. Many times you may have experienced this in your organization where a user inputs a change goes through all the approvals, gets updated in all the systems, and then at the end of the day, they run the report and they say, oh, I meant to put it under a different parent, right? Maybe something as simple as that. Within EDM, the user is actually seeing where they're placing and all of their different changes to the data structure, all within the user interface. So there's no confusion about what changes they've entered or requested. Ability to create views limited to a user's specific area of expertise or responsibility. So if you have an organizational structure, or maybe a geographical structure rather, that's split into regions, and you have a manager for the East region, and he or she is only responsible and should only see the East region, within EDM, you can create a view specific for that user. So he or she's not seeing the Western or Northern or Southern or what have you. So that ability to create user-specific views is a great feature for the modern business user as well. So again, EDM is designed with the business user in mind. And at Proficient, this is a key consideration in all of our implementations. We don't take this lightly. We want to make sure that business user is empowered to be able to do what they need to do from a day-to-day basis. So let's talk a little bit about use cases. When we're talking acceleration or alignment, what we're really talking about is timelines. Whether those are cloud implementation timelines or routine change timelines. Customers spend a lot of time correcting errors, and many target applications don't do a good enough job of enforcing rules at the time of entry. EDM kind of solves for that with the ability of the offering of prepackaged components to reduce those headaches, whether they're prepackaged integration adapters or prepackaged validations. This is all meant to alleviate the timeline and accelerate that alignment throughout the organization. Then when we talk about assimilation, again, business users can perform that what-if analysis. So they can input the in-created request, move things around, see what it would look like on the screen before they even submit it. And then also if they have to do ledger-to-ledger mappings or address chart of account inefficiencies, whatever the business case may be there, they don't need IT involved in order to do that. With a little bit of training, a little bit of navigation 101, the business user can easily be able to apply the required changes that they need to propagate throughout the system. And when we talk about auditing, approval policies, when we're talking master data, data governance is directly involved with that. And approval policies provide automated request routing, email notification, email reminders, all of this to prevent that time wasted in tracking down and obtaining approvals. I can't tell you the number of organizations where, in the analysis phase we've asked, well, what do you do if the approver doesn't respond to your email or phone call? Well, I gotta go track them down. EDM provides the ability to do that, or provides reminders and notifications to be ahead of the game, so that we don't lose or lose time to just simply coordination or collaboration. Also, the auditing abilities in EDM, really next generation. I mean, if you want to know who's done what and when, it's all there at the click of a button. And again, just want to stress that EDM can solve for a wide array of data types, really across any function within the organization. We really want to stress that thinking of EDM beyond finance is crucial. In order to get that ROI on the tool's capabilities, it's best to really build out a separate inventory roadmap across all of the enterprise data within the organization, whether it's sales data, marketing data, product data, or HR data. This is going to help with really realizing the potential savings and efficiency and improvements that EDM can provide across the organization. And if you have questions or need help with how to do that, please feel free to reach out to us. What you see here on the screen is some statistics directly from Oracle based on their research. It can be found at the link below. But just speaking to that ROI, really, I mean, 65% time savings, in those types of different changes that EDM can solve for. 30% faster rollout of new applications. So again, EDM is not hindering the rollout of a new application, it's enhancing that. It's providing a tool to be able to quickly and efficiently manage the metadata, dimensions, hierarchies, chart of accounts, taxonomies, and so forth. 45% decrease in audit and compliance cost. I don't know anybody that would want to spend more on audit and compliance costs. So EDM, being a tool that tracks every little thing that's done in the system, really can provide cost savings there as well. And now what we'd like to do is turn it over to Swetha. She's going to give a demo on the application so that you guys can actually see and get a feel for what EDM's capabilities are. Swetha?
Thank you, Stephen. Now let's take a look at the Oracle Enterprise Data Management product with the help of a demo application that has been configured with some preloaded sample data and related artifacts. Here we will explore the capabilities of the product, get familiar with its features, and see some use cases that apply to common business processes. Once logged in to the EDM environment, users can access various areas within the application from the home page with the help of these tiles or cards for quick access. We will go over each of these areas briefly now and discuss some of them in more detail in a few minutes. Applications. An EDM application represents an external application containing enterprise data you need to maintain within EDM. It can be any data source like database tables, spreadsheets, on-premise applications, or cloud applications. Views give you a collection of lists or hierarchies for a particular context of your enterprise data, such as account maintenance, cost center maintenance, etc. Views consist of one or more viewpoints where you can update data across applications. Viewpoints provide a subset of nodes for you to work with. For example, viewpoints may represent different groupings of accounts, different groupings of cost centers, etc. All changes to enterprise data are performed in viewpoints. I can navigate back to the tiles on the home page by clicking on the home button at the top, or there are other quick access links available at the top of the screen. Node types. A node type is a collection of an application's nodes that share common business purposes. Node types are used to define a node's properties. Each node is a member of a node type. For example, a node of an account typically will be a member of its application's node type for account. Hierarchy sets. Hierarchy sets define nodes' parent-child relationships within a dimension. For example, you would use a hierarchy set to define a hierarchy in which products roll up to product categories. You can create different hierarchy sets to represent different types of roll-ups within a dimension. Node sets. Node sets define the group of nodes available within each viewpoint. A node set can include all hierarchies in a hierarchy set or exclude some of them and use only a subset of hierarchies. For example, to work with only US branch of geographical hierarchy, you would define a node set that includes only the US hierarchy. Properties. The properties page lists the properties that can be added to dimensions. Oracle EDM provides an initial set of properties. You can also create custom properties from this properties page for a custom type of application. Requests. A request is the mechanism to update data within EDM. Changes to data are organized into request items. Requests enable you to visualize changes before you commit them. In this example, you can see the request that's being made to update this particular member in the planning account dimension. The homepage information panel displays request activity specific to each user. You can see the number of requests that are assigned to you, requests you have submitted, requests that need your approval, etc. Clicking on one of these categories will take you to the requests page where you can work with a specific request. Lookup sets. Lookup sets enable you to transform a set of values for properties into a different set of values. For example, account type property, the value A can be translated into asset. Connections. Connections enable you to share data with external applications using extracts. For example, connections to Oracle ERP Cloud can be used to transfer data such as value sets, mappings, etc. for import into the Financials Cloud's application. Reports. There are different types of reports that you can run in EDM. For example, reports for a comprehensive view of user permissions on various artifacts, validation reports, system reports like user activity, resource utilization, etc. The audit feature enables you to view changes made to data over a particular period of updates. You can view the transactions involving every update made in the system. On the home page, Tools is a cluster of cards with links to access control, where users' access is maintained, migration, where application backups are taken, daily maintenance, where application maintenance related settings can be set up, etc. Let's take a look at the different types of applications that can be configured in EDM. EDM provides application types for most commonly used external applications such as Oracle E-Business Suite General Ledger, Oracle Financials Cloud General Ledger, Oracle Financials Consolidation and Close, Oracle Planning applications, Oracle Planning applications with pre-built modules like workforce, capital expenditure, etc. enabled. These application types enforce conformity to external applications and also require minimal configuration. For example, the planning application automatically defines the properties required by an external Oracle Cloud Planning dimension. There's also another type of application available within EDM. A universal application is used to manage enterprise data for any business application that does not fall into one of these other application types. This type of application can be used for both Oracle or non-Oracle systems, cloud or on-premise system, or any system managed by a third party. You can create connections from EDM to external Oracle Cloud applications such as planning, module-enabled planning, financial consolidation and close, or Fusion Cloud General Ledger. For example, for planning application, if you enter a valid connection information for an external application during the registration process, you can import and export from the external application inbox by using this connection. Once updates are made to the planning dimensions in EDM, you can export them as files to the external application and then import them into your planning application. Similarly, for Oracle Financials Cloud General Ledger type applications, if you enter valid connection details to the external application, you can export to the external application server by using this connection. You can also import from the external application using this connection. For this FCGL type applications, connections can be created to the actual external application whose master data we are maintaining in EDM. You can provide the connection details such as connection name, the URL, domain, a user that can pull data and push data to the external application. Users can import metadata into EDM application, export from the application, export mappings, and create custom extracts. For example, on this corporate planning application, from the Actions menu, you can click on Import to import dimensions from the various dimensions defined in the external application. The dimension data can be imported by uploading a flat file or directly from the external application. Using the connection that's created, during the application registration. In the external application, the dimension exports can be generated in the application inbox and outbox folder, from which EDM can pull those files. So if you see here, if the connection is switched to the direct connection, it shows all the files that are available in the inbox of the external application that can be directly pulled into EDM for import. Similarly, after making data changes within EDM, you can export the dimensions out to the external application and synchronize the updated data to the external target application. The dimensions can be exported out from EDM as flat files. These files can either be downloaded to your local machines and can be uploaded to the target system, or if it is an Oracle Cloud application, you can use the connections created during the application registration to export the dimension files directly to the target application's inbox. Import jobs can be created in the target application to pick up the files from the inbox and load the data to the target application. Export option does not allow any customizations to the export file format or what nodes are exported. There's also another option to export the mappings. You can maintain mappings in EDM to define relationships between nodes in different dimensions of different applications that share information with each other. You can create mapping views where you create hierarchies with source nodes rolling up to the target nodes. You associate these mappings with a mapping key that corresponds to a location in the data management. This way you can update mappings between two applications in EDM, export out the mappings to the location inbox in data management of the target application. In data management, the mappings file can be imported and the mappings can be updated. Last type of export option is extract. This is more flexible than the export option, where the export file format cannot be changed. Unlike a dimension export, with the extract functionality, you can choose what nodes in the hierarchy to extract. You can choose the file format options like delimiters, feed style, quote columns, null keyword, including header, etc. You can also choose data options like negative sign character, thousand separator, decimal operator, etc. Let's go back to views. Views is where all master data updates are made within EDM. There can be multiple types of views. Default views are created when you register an application. A default view is created to help you manage a related set of data chain objects for that application. For example, when you import a planning application, a default view for that application will be created containing all the dimensions that you registered for that import. Similarly, you can also create other types of views, such as maintenance views. You can create these maintenance views to manage data based on a specific business purpose, such as synchronizing a chart of accounts across multiple applications. So this account maintenance view groups the chart of accounts from multiple types of applications like the Fusion Cloud application, planning application, another type of GL application, etc. Hierarchies in each viewpoint within a view represent the hierarchies in the external application's dimensions. As I expand these hierarchies, you can see the roll-ups within each hierarchy, the groupings, the different nodes that group under each parent node, and their corresponding properties. On this panel, I can show the description of each node, and on the properties panel to the right-hand side, every single property associated with this node in the external system can be displayed and maintained. For example, this node in the Oracle Fusion Cloud application is represented in EDM in this hierarchy along with all of its associated GL properties. They can be edited by creating a new request, modified, and then submitted so that the changes are committed to the system. On the same right-hand side panel, there's also a locations option. The locations tab identifies all locations of a selected node in each viewpoint. Multiple locations for the same node can be visualized together, and you can navigate from any location where the node exists. Locations are grouped by parents and can be viewed in a collapsed or expanded format. Properties values for each instance of these multiple locations can be viewed together, and the differences can be analyzed. You can also take a look at the request history of every single node in this application. You can see when each node was updated last, every history related to every single metadata within the application. There are 3 ways to make changes to data in Oracle Enterprise Data Management Cloud: interactively, by manually making changes to these viewpoints through the web interface, by subscribing a target viewpoint to a source viewpoint, or by loading from a flat file. For example, you create a new United States hierarchy and need to add 15 new nodes. Each change in the load file is a separate request item. In this scenario, there will be 50 items in one request, one for each state being added. Right now, I can demo adding a new member to the plan account application. I will expand this particular hierarchy and add a new node. I can add them as a child. If I know where the node should exist, I can add it as a sibling. Either options work, and I create the member, and that adds a new node. And then the new node can be given a name, required name, and every corresponding property can be updated and submitted. Whether you make changes interactively or through a subscription or by using a load file, all proposed changes are visualized in the viewpoints where you are making the updates or loading the file. Changes are visible in unique colors and icons so that you can see which parts of the hierarchy are being updated and what areas may be affected by the change. While making changes to the viewpoints, the system performs validation checks to determine the validity of the changes that are being proposed. If items in the request have validation issues, you can see the reason for the failure and decide how to resolve the issue. You can also delete the request that you do not want to submit. Another important feature within EDM when you are maintaining dimensions across multiple applications is being able to compare dimensions across applications. You can systematically compare 2 viewpoints and locate no differences between them. This compare option enables you to do that. I can compare the corporate account to the planning account to analyze the differences between the 2 application dimensions. For example, I can use this option to identify nodes which need to be inserted into the alternate hierarchies in the planning account dimension. The ability to compare data from different viewpoints is an integral part of being able to synchronize data across applications. In this example, I'm comparing the dimensions from left to right, meaning from corporate account to the planning account. I can compare all nodes, choose to compare only bottom nodes, or select a particular node and its descendants to compare, or compare the bottom nodes of the selected node. I can choose to compare what nodes are missing in my source compared to the target, and then click on compare to run the comparison. As can be seen, I found 15 nodes that are not part of the corporate account but are in the planning account. This enables me to see the differences clearly and not only see the differences but also convert them into a request and submit those changes so that the 2 dimensions across 2 applications are in sync. I can compare relationships between the 2 applications, make sure the base nodes are rolling up to the same parent across the two applications. Or I can compare property values between the two applications. I can go back to the normal view where all dimensions are grouped under one maintenance view. Subscriptions is a key concept within EDM. Subscriptions enable you to share data between viewpoints by subscribing a target viewpoint to a source viewpoint. When an update is made in the source viewpoint, a request is automatically generated to make the same update in the target viewpoint. For example, you can set up viewpoints in your planning application to subscribe to a viewpoint in your Oracle Financials Cloud application. When you add a node in the Financials Cloud General Ledger application, once the new addition is approved, if any approvals are defined on your GL application, the system automatically generates a request to add the same node to the planning application as well. You can inspect the subscription by clicking on the inspect option on the target application and creating subscriptions. In this subscription that's already been defined, we are subscribing to the Oracle Financials Cloud Applications account dimension, and we are also assigning a default assignee to that subscription. So whenever a node is added to the Financials Cloud application, a request is sent to the default assignee to add the same node to the target application. You can also define alternate assignees. You can also define subscription specifics such as what nodes should be subscribed between the two applications, what node conditions, what type of actions should be included for this subscription. Now that we've gone over the basics of various components within EDM, let's go ahead and actually create a request to the corporate account to add a new node and make sure it's subscribing to the planning account, which is the target application. So in the account maintenance page, I create a new request. I click on the corporate account where I want to add a new chart of account. I expand my hierarchy, identify the parent under which I want to add a new node. From the actions menu, I select add child. As soon as I select an add child, EDM runs through the various validations required for this type of application, which is Oracle Fusion Cloud, and identifies any errors with the metadata that is being proposed. I can see that this type of application does not allow a node name that is longer than the maximum length of 8 characters. So I update the account to the right name that is required or acceptable by the target application. Once that is done, I can now try to submit this request with the submit button on the right hand top corner. Once the request is attempted to submit, EDM runs more validations to make sure that everything else in the properties panel lines up with the requirements of the external target application. There are new validation errors. The property account type is required but does not have a value. I will go ahead and choose an appropriate account type for this account. It runs through other validation errors in this request. The financial category must be valid for a selected account type. I will scroll down to see the financial category and update it accordingly. To be sure, I can run a full validation on the items that I'm trying to add to make sure there are no other validation errors for the new metadata being updated. I can provide an optional description. And now I am ready to submit this request. On this request, I can also provide comments. I can add attachments. I can browse files from my computer to attach any useful information that substantiates this request. And then I can submit this request. Now a request is in flight. Since there are approvals defined on this particular dimension, the submitted request now goes through an approval process. Approvers who are defined on this application will go through the approval, either approve or reject this request, and then the metadata changed is committed to the system. Once a request is submitted, you can always recall it before an approver approves this request. So this recall option enables you to recall any submitted request. Before you submit a request, you can also assign it to another member so that you transfer the responsibility of submitting this request to another assignee. You can also collaborate to facilitate multiple users participating on this request. The request assignee can ask additional users to collaborate on this draft request with them. The user assigned to the request retains control over the request, so collaborators cannot submit, reassign, or delete a request, but they can work on the request along with the default assignee. I will close this view and navigate to the requests page. In the request page, you can see the latest request that I submitted. I can inspect the request. I can see the details of the request. I can see any comments provided. I can see any attachments made. I can also see any comments, any attachments made. I can see the workflow. I can see who this request is pending with. I can see the approvers listed here and where the request is right now. I can also see the history of this request, who has created it, who has submitted it, who is approving it, etc. Now I will log in as the approver to show you how a request can be approved. When the approver logs in, he or she can see the approval, the requests that are waiting for his approval by clicking on that quick link in the on the home page. I can see all the requests that are waiting for my approval, and I can see the request that was submitted. I click on the link. It takes me to the request that was submitted. I can see the new node that was added to the corporate account hierarchy. I can see all the property updates that are being requested to that new node. From here, I can either approve the request by clicking on the approve button. That will allow me to provide any comments if necessary and approve the request, or I can also reject the request or push it back for further updates. Rejecting the request completely nullifies the request and there can be no further action taken. Pushing back the request sends it back to the original submitter. They can make modifications based on any comments or attachments you add to the request and then resubmit it for further approval. I will approve this request. I can now log back in as the original submitter. And now that the request to add a new node to the corporate planning application has been approved, a request should be created to add the same node to the planning application as well, because we are subscribing the planning application updates to the corporate application updates. As can be seen, the same node has been added under the same parent in the target application with the required prefix A underscore. This shows how maintenance and synchronization between applications can be simplified by only maintaining new updates in one location and having them flow through to the other applications as well. Similar validations specific to this external application, which is Planning and Budgeting Cloud, are run by EDM so that all properties are acceptable to the external application. This tells me that the data type value is currency, so the exchange rate type must be none. So I can update it accordingly to resolve that validation error, and I can now submit this request. If the planning application also has approvers enabled on it, the application runs through the approval workflow, and once the approver approves the request, the change is committed to the system. Once all the requests are made and approvals are provided, users can then export the updated metadata back to the external application using the export option that was discussed earlier. The account dimension can now be exported out with the new node added to the target application, and the new node can be imported. That is an overview of maintaining metadata within EDM, not only to maintain metadata within individual applications, but also to have it synchronized across applications.
Thanks, Swetha. And now what we'd like to do is kind of talk through some of the real world success stories that we've seen and been a part of with EDM throughout the various industries. And the first one was a financial transformation. So when we're talking ERP, EPM, total transformation of their financial applications. And what really struck them early on in their discovery process is that they really didn't have a good mechanism for master data policies and controls. So speaking to that data governance aspect. So they looked to EDM to be able to provide the ability to ensure that when a new account was requested or a new cost center or a new entity, what have you, that all the correct approvals and were obtained and all the T's were crossed and all the I's were dotted. And EDM really allowed them to do this, allowed their business users rather than IT type individuals to request, approve, and apply changes. There was little IT involvement, and I can tell you that the customer was very happy with just the intuitive nature of EDM. They didn't have too much structure or too many challenges with navigating the data structures, and they had a lot. They really did have a lot of different trees, a lot of different hierarchies, dimensions, but they really did not struggle with those, the governance aspect, specifically because of due to the EDM governance policies. Next customer was a global financial services company, global leader in ATM deployment. This was a migration from on-prem to the cloud, talking cloud financials, and the EPM applications as well. And of course, EDM really was a key component in this implementation because of one key aspect is that they used EDM to actually build out their chart of account hierarchies for their ERP system. So they were able to utilize or take advantage of some of that pre-built validation, pre-built integration aspects and build out their chart of accounts in EDM and then push it over to their ERP versus first building it out in ERP and then bringing it into the EDM world. So that was a really unique aspect. One of the use cases for EDM, and it's great to be a part of. Great to see a client take advantage of that. Our third is another energy company, and this was a lift and shift type of project from on-prem Hyperion to Oracle EPM cloud applications, primarily planning and S-base applications. The unique thing about this implementation was that EDM did not only serve as a source for master data, but it also served as a target. So their cost centers were created in their ERP system, and EDM's import and merge feature was utilized to load those cost centers in. So if they created a new cost center, it'll automatically get loaded into EDM, and then the administrator or the business users were able to take action on those cost centers and place them in the correct hierarchy, update EPM attributes as necessary, and then propagate that change throughout the EPM applications. And so, again, the key thing there is that EDM not only can serve as a central hub for propagating, but it can also receive changes, curate those, and propagate them as well. So if you are interested in some EPM training, again, Proficient, we've partnered with KeyTeach. So we offer training in 3 different categories: classroom, live virtual classroom, and then customized training as well. And with that, we turn it back over to Courtney for any questions that we may have.